right, welcome back to the Day Out of Time broadcast. Again, this is Makua Ray, and I have the very distinct honor of welcoming into the conversation right now Dr. Jewel Pookrum and Baba Wanique Shabazz. I want to say greetings and welcome to the both of you. Dr. Pookrum, how are you?
Okay, I'm fabulous, thank you, and I'm so delighted and pleased to be able to be here and to share. Thank you. So glad to
Wonderful.
be with two great beings myself. Thank you.
Oh, and Lakesh. And Baba Wanique, how's it going?
Oh, it's going. It is flowing. And as it also in the knowing, right? So we can do what we're showing. A little
And
bit of
keep on growing.
a little poetic
And
flow.
don't stop glowing. Okay.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I think I echo what Mama Julie just stated. You know, I think it's essentially important for us to understand, understand our reasoning for being. And as we're here on this magnetic mirror, you know, the reflection, of course, the order, the endlessness, you know, the purpose, you know,
Yes.
as we move into a whole nother cycle. And I think it's really essentially important. And I want to thank you and your platform for inviting us to share, to contribute to that very end.
Absolutely. Well, the fact of the matter is, I had the honor of extending the opportunity to you because this, in a way, is a continuity of something we did together 4 years ago. We put the call out because we had the opportunity to make a presentation at the United Nations within the Nexus community, the Global Youth Summit of Nexus. And that was literally 4 years ago. In fact, I think that was Noosphere Day, Gregorian July 22nd,
Right.
2016. So we've come full circle here, 4 years down the path. And it's remarkable. Ruben Yinas and I were launching a campaign to help introduce people broadly to the idea of switching calendars to a 13-month, 28-day cycle as a way to introduce getting back into sync with natural cycles as a very introductory method of doing this. And we know that the methods go much deeper and the science is much more profound than we could have covered within that setting, and that we will certainly attempt to introduce today in today's conversation. So when this opportunity to present on the Day Out of Time to the global family now has come upon us, naturally I wanted to reach out to the heavy hitters that I know are on the planet doing some of the most important work for the human family. So that's a little bit of a synopsis of where we've been and where we've come to now. But I want to get right into it. The question that I wanted to really raise today is really one, let's look at the basics, some of the basics of the calendar. The 13-month, 28 days, or 13 moon, as some people would say, 28-day cycles. And then that obviously integrates with another 260-day calendar that serves to synchronize, in a galactic sense, a fractal galactic sense, all of the timing systems available to us. And then also, what are the benefits? So both the basics and the benefits. And I couldn't think of anybody better qualified to help guide us in that conversation. But I'd like to actually ask you both to intro a little bit of the bio of yourselves. We'll start with Dr. Pookrum, just so that people get an idea of who they are interfacing with right now.
Okay, well, greetings, and again, thank you. I am, okay, so many things. Okay, a white lunar dog, but most of all, definitely at our university, we refer to ourselves as gods in the making. Okay, because we recognize that because of our origin being an aspect of the cosmos, a light being, that we are here to learn to master mass. Okay, that's the big lesson for all of us in our new unique way of doing this. So, from a terrestrial level, okay, I am a physician, surgeon, a curious being in that I also investigate a lot of life through microscopy. I am a microscopist, etc. But most of all, that I'm really excited about is I am the dean to a wonderful university that has been established to return the owner's manual of the human body back to humans. And
Mm,
so, therefore, understanding the quantum physics of mass, we recognize that the human body is also a mass structure composed of light. And understanding that we are composed of light, there's a whole new revelation and revolution that has to occur with our understanding of light and how it is also the constitution for the human body, and how does that relate to our multidimensional self as having a mental body, an emotional body, and
mm,
also being the miniature extrapolation of the entire cosmos. So my interest in our discussion today, as far as understanding the cycles of time that they were left to us as an inheritance, a legacy over 6,000 years ago by
mm,
Pacal Votan and the ascended masters that have left this for us, Dallin Votan, etc., that from a health perspective, I recognize that the chronicity of disease and the inability to resolve that chronicity is due to the fact that we are still out of alignment with the cosmos and with the cycles of light that are necessary for the homogeneous interaction of us in your awareness having a light body.
mm,
So the Jewel University, Jewel is an acronym for justifiably enchanted with enlightened living. The Jewel University of Immortal Sciences for immortal living. We know for a fact that human tissue is immortal. The key is we are not able to control the length of time that a physical cell can exist in this dimension. We
mm.
know that they can exist for centuries, but how do we control that? And that's really been the big question. So at the university, we've discovered a lot of that because we now recognize that our mind, which is an incredible field of knowledge stored in light, okay, is directly connected to the cosmos, but the perception of that uh, body of knowledge coded in light has to do with the full development of the physical nervous system. So the whole of mind perceiver, we're now actually able to intelligently interact with the mind and its energy bodies, and how those spheres of encoded light move throughout the cosmos, move literally throughout each solar system, and also evolve actually in the physical tissue of the brain. We now
Mm.
know that. So this is part of the teachings as to how to uh, assist an individual in understanding these incredible technologies that have been a primal structure of our existence, unknown until this time. So that's what I do.
Thank you so much for that robust introduction, and it's truly appreciated and very much noted. I love what you said about the revelation and the revolution that this really brings forward, and it couldn't be better timed. And there's obviously a lot of questions that are going to emerge from what you've shared. I want to invite Wanique to introduce himself as well, the time tracker and master teacher that he is, and invite that now also, Baba Wanique.
Ashe, thank you again, Asante Sana, for the honorable invite. Um, uh, Dr. J said that's all she do. What more is there to do after that? That is the holy embodiment and the encapsulation, if you will, of what this is really about. You know, if we're not about the restoration and the reclamation of self, then we're really spinning our wheels, you know, just to coin one of those cliches. We really truly have to come to grips with the fact that what we're doing, and you asked me, what did I do, a little bio, you know, sometimes that seems to be difficult to really to capture, you know, when we talk about just doing things in the moment and really understanding your life path. And Dr. Jewel referenced, you know, who we are in the sphere of our cosmic purpose, our galactic purpose. Because oftentimes, you know, we're stuck in the density of the mundanity of this physical world that we think is all there is. And
Yes.
within that context, what I have been doing, and one of the honors I have had is to journey with Dr. Jewel over so many, many moons. And in fact, it was her and I actually encountered Jose early on, and got a sense of the next layer of what to do, as we are doing what we do, and he began to share with us about his findings and his prophetic knowing and his sacred geometrical insights, and came to Atlanta and shared with us. Him and Lordine at the time, Lordine, as well as his then wife, came and gave us a layout and a presentation on the dream spell. It was a small collective of us, but Dr. Jew and I. I'm not sure if Dr. Jew remembers that, but
oh no, quite well.
and we were sitting in a small little room. This was, if you want to talk about celestine prophecies, right? When you start looking at things from the standpoint of those synchronicities, we were able to get the codes and get the idea of what it was to navigate more openly and readily in terms of some tangible ideas, because we were already on the path doing things essentially. And of course, Dr. Julius has long been espousing these tenets around natural law and natural time, and as she stated, I'll say in the encapsulation, anatomy is everything. There's nothing happening that has nothing to do, that does not reflect the anatomical structures of who we are, because we are constantly recreating ourselves. So in that early stage of us making that encounter, that close encounter of the third dimensional kind, I was able to help to usher in the foundation of Law of Time by being invited to be on the board of directors. So it really was a synchronicity that was just waiting for it to happen. And I, of course, through the guidance and the encouragement and the enthusiasm around what we were doing, I was able to become the officer of internal operations, when it came to the Law of Time, and then move summarily out of that role into a emeritus role of public relations and bringing the science back to people through the work that I do relative to now known to be coined by yours truly, the Galactic Purpose Signature. See, at the time it was a Galactic Signature. In fact, now at your fingertips, you can find all the different variations of what it is to be a galactic sojourner, right? And within that context, I was able to assess that which was provided and look at it from a larger standpoint and to somewhat take it into the refinery of what white does as a chromatic, right? Yeah. Don't confuse the mundanity of that which happens in race consciousness. But the white chromatic, I was able to understand the refinery of that and how to refine that into a space where it became most available to us as a GPS, a galactic purpose signature.
Okay.
And it really did signify and it did define who we were. So in my work along the way, because I work in communications for a long time. I'm a director of operations of a very progressive and very engaged community independent radio station here in Atlanta. I've been doing that all along, and of course my work as a lifestyle consultant and also a counselor in the science of one's purpose and being a time traveler, of course, a natural time scholar, as I call it, NTS, right? To be able to support that. And of course, my encounter with you happened on the same trajectory, and it happened around the same, if you want to talk about chronological time, around the day at a time.
That's right. That's absolutely right. This is our anniversary.
Anniversary, because we were in the Potomac at the time, right?
Yeah.
Over in Washington, Washington State, and at the Capitol, on the monument, on the lawn, Capitol lawn, and we were able to make some connections and connections. I'm talking about KIN connections about what we were, and synchronicity enough, I was just revisiting that interview that you and I had, and I thought about, so I need to send him so he can have a copy for his own personal archive, because it is your very, very, very present. So within that context, I had a luxury of also being involved with Dr. Jewel and being at one point, with the university, and to be able to help navigate some of the light beings that came through there. So it's been really a perfect and a beautiful experience. So I'm not going to get into the who I am or who I be, or what I do, but who I be, of course, is a light being of consistent, ongoing presentation of that energy that says that we're going to transform our existence. And that's, who I become as Wanique to who Shabazz. And I'm honored to be on the platform. Thank you again.
No, it's excellent and wonderful to have you, and definitely a perfect synchronicity. And so your galactic purpose signature is the white galactic world bridger,
That is
right?
correct.
And that assures the integrity that you are here to ground in the sequence of events, as it were. And you reference the white chromatic, and that being the white direction of the north, which refines. And for people who are new to this language and new to this information, it is like learning a new language. And there are terminologies and perspectives that one begins to see the beautiful tapestry that lays out before you. It's very intuitive, and it's simple, and it's elegant at the same time. And in its simplicity, it's also very vast. And that's the beauty of it. And I see that Dr. Jewel's connection has invited her to be somewhere else at the moment. So we're going to continue the conversation, as this is live, obviously. And we want to make sure that we keep the coherence and the flow. And hopefully she'll be able to jump back in and join us, because I had several questions for her. We had a chance to speak a little bit before we went on air, and she was sharing quite a lot about the light body. And I think that, in fact, you and your mention of interacting with Jose Arguelles back in the 1990s, when you had a chance to meet all together with Dr. Jewel and receive the codes. Now, we hear people talk about these codes all the time. It's kind of a catchphrase we hear out here in the culture now, that somebody has these codes or somebody has these codes. Now, I can say for a fact that Dr. Arguelles presented codes, and these are codes that are effectively light packets of information. And for people who endeavor to navigate and unpack these codes, they reveal quite a lot of information in tiny bites, if you will, BYTES, as it were. And that information helps to accelerate the awareness to the light body, and energy flows where attention goes. So as people begin to tune in and understand the basic underpinnings of this elegant time science, then naturally one of the outcomes really becomes an increased awareness of not only who they are, but also why they are, where they are in time, space, and circumstance. And I want to ask you to elucidate a little bit on the basics of the calendar. We have other people in this 7-hour broadcast who are also enlightening us to some of this, like Eden Sky and Robert Sky, who publish a wonderful calendar, the 13 Moon calendar, 13moon.com, now called the Galactic Calendar. We have the honor of Stephanie South sharing some perspective into this time science, as she is at the helm of the Foundation for the Law of Time, as she has been for several years. Obviously, she was working very closely in a teacher-apprentice relationship with Dr. Arguelles for a very long time, publishing the Cosmic History Chronicles. There are many people in the field who are the wisdom bearers, who are the carriers of this tradition, of this information. But as I have known you for several years now, as you noted, we met many moons ago in Washington, D.C. on the Day Out of Time. And as long as I've known you, I've known that you have the masterful ability to elucidate this information for people, both in a way in rhyme and poetry, but also through a science lens and through a comprehension of how to apply the science. Because one of the most important things for people to realize is it's like meditation. Somebody can tell you how wonderful meditation is, how important it may be. But if that person themselves does not endeavor to meditate, they're not going to receive the benefits or the impact of actually applying the practice and science of meditation. So similarly, I want to ask you to elucidate a little bit into the basic tenets, if you will, of the tribes and the tones, and just to give us a general sense of these factors, these mathematics.
Okay. Well, thank you again for this opportunity.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And there's a lot in there to unpack. If I could do it gradually until we get the return of Dr. Jewel, and she can take us a dimension with it as well, based on your pre-conversation. You mentioned that Dr. Jose Arguelles, of course, also known affectionately as Balloon Botan, and also more pointedly as the closer of the cycle. That was his underpin. And that's what, became his moniker, as it were, to show that he had a mission that he was on. And I really, truly have to say again, I appreciate that he came by here, kumbaya, they call it. He came by here and made this stop, because he had to make some inroads to those of us who were already on that path. See, it wasn't like he was grabbing people along the way. He was finding and hitting those points or points of light that were already on the planet. And Atlanta was one of those places, which I say within the comprehensive reports that I provide as a galactic purposing to GPS, that 144,000 points of light. And those 144,000 points of light are within the container of the 260 variables of the 20 faces of God. And the 20 faces of God is those 20 archetypes, and the variables of them are that which helps them tonation-wise. So like we say, we already said, I'm the white galactic world bridger. That's the galactic process of that is a tone. You are the solar world bridger. The tone, our tonation of how we, inculcate some of the energies of what we do on our purpose is based on that tonation. Sometimes we call it the vibratory rate. See, our vibratory rate is what gives us our definition as to how we, again, elucidate those solar cells. Solar cells is known as the archetypes. The archetypes are known, in our case, we share the archetype. This is one of those synchronicities and synergistic movements when we find out we were both world bridges at the same time and we were having this conversation. It's a profound conversation. You got to hear it again. Okay. And I'm saying to you, what you were sharing at that moment brings us full circle to where we are now to understand the vibration. Dr. Jose used to always, quite frequently inviting me around the world to talk about the galactic signature. One of the things I felt was an honor for him to do that, so I can help pulse people, and we call it pulsing people into existence, into their knowing of who they are, and really understanding the pulsations. Pulsations is what the body, the physical body, as we know, has pulse, right? The first thing what people want to know if a person is alive.
Signs of life. Is there a sign of intelligent life here?
Check the pulse. Does he have a pulse? You know what I'm saying? This is what they do when they come to you in the emergency situation. The EMS, they come and say they want to check and see if you have a pulse. See whether or not one of these major articulations is getting any vibrations of, in pulsation. And then they find, okay, yeah, there's a possibility, there's a hope, if you will, for this person because they still have a pulse. So, again, you talk about codes and what Jose has provided for codes. The codes are that which gives us the indicators around this science, because if you don't know how to decode stuff, you're not going to be able to understand the basic things that are in your constant interactions and encounters, because everything has a code. Everything has a formula that allows it to maintain or to have an existence in the first place. So within the context of the work that I do and we've been doing within the law of time, which is the cosmic law, is to really understand, understand what that is. And when you say, well, talk about the different ways that we understand and we define those things. When we talk about understanding ourselves, we have to know that we're galactic enzymes, if that makes sense. This is a little bit different language. On the platform that I now am a co-facilitator, co-creator of, Mimic, we call it, which is known as melanated immortals making evolutionary changes. So we're taking and putting ourselves in the position to recognize the importance of the melanin polymer, the melanin molecule, as it were, to realize that is where the matter is consistent as black matter. So when we talk about this, more contemporary way of defining that Black Lives Matter, we have to reinvigorate ourselves to know that black matter lives. You see, so understanding what those tonations, those word signs is about what it is to understand black matter lives. And Dr. Yu, who's returned with us, just showed one of the pieces that she did, the vitamins and minerals from A to Z, to talk about long before we got to this point. See, how you identify somebody who really true is authentic or credible is to see what happens before everybody else is now engrossed in it. And I dare say the long trajectory that Dr. Jewel and I were on, there's a lot of things that they're talking about now that was very common for us back then and very much prophetic in the way that it was being presented. So we always have grace. This is what I want to say. You know, the grace was there. If you don't take heed to the grace when it happens, then you lose sight of the fact that you had an opportunity, as we do model opportunity, and of course, understanding that we really lose the opportunity to jump into the space of what we now represent for where we are right now. None of this is surprising to any of us who already was on the path. All that is happening now, the pandemic, as it were, is something that is now not only for everyone to take note and be attentive and understand that they have to now be still long enough to actualize their purpose for being. And this is where the opportunity for the anatomy of oneself, as Dr. Jewel talks about quite frequently, and what it is to understand the manual that governs that, is the only way you're going to make it through this. If you don't know thyself, there's nothing you can do, no kind of vaccinations or whatever, or any fascinations you may have, you know, around this world is going to allow you to maintain an avatar on this dimension. And so when we get to understand those codes, the galactic enzymes, which is called a galactic signature, or as I say, galactic purpose signature, to know how to navigate these terrains, how to know how to avoid the minefields. If you don't have understanding of those 5 components, which is the immediate components of your destiny cross, which is your 5 bodies, as we call it, you know, and I call it the mental, the emotional, the spirit, and the soul. I effectively call it the mess that our physical body is in. Because the only thing that's happening is what we are processing mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and within our soul. And then that physical body is really and merely a barometer to gauge where you are in those intangible bodies. You wouldn't have tangibility were it not for the formulation of that incarnation into what we now know to be this avatar as a physical body. This physical body is tremendous. And of course, you know, our surgeon can talk about what this body has that we really don't know the half of what it's able to do.
Right.
So I'll yield back because she's here. I want to yield back in terms of allowing her to continue on this conversation, because I know that a lot of the wisdom that is coming through and coming forth now is asking us to really take note of the Federation and what they're giving us as instruction. Because the Galactic Federation is like saying, this is the next move as you continue to navigate through space.
Exactly.
So I yield back, and thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Baba Wanique. That's very helpful. And as we welcome Dr. Jewel back in the conversation also, I wanted to ask you, Dr. Jewel, to help us unpack a little bit about the importance of the light body and importance of these timing cycles of the day, any given day. Because as Wanique mentioned, I mean, obviously there's a multidimensional self we're working with, but we're usually and largely unconscious to it. So the work you all are doing is helping people become conscious and aware of the multidimensional self. And in terms of the calendar as a basic fundamental start point for how to operate this particular form, I would love to ask you to explain a little bit about that, about this light body and how it is best served with a conscious awareness to these cycles.
Okay. Simple question, but requires a long discussion on many of the aspects that need to be addressed just to really bring a full closure to all the aspects that question embraces. Okay.
Yes.
So I just want to make it simplistic for the time, because there's so much to grasp now, because as Baba Wanique has said, we've been studying this for decades. Okay. And so therefore, you know, I'm very honored that I had the time to, you know, bathe and to really absorb this, etc. And I recognize that I was prepared. I'm sure that he could probably testify to that too, but I was prepared to prepare humanity for this time. Okay. There's no way that a person could have convinced me when I was basically incising into the abdomens of people that I would be the chancellor of a university to teach people about their light body and how to be able to keep it enlightened. okay, which has nothing to do with physical surgery and putting a steel blade into the abdomen of a person.
Mm.
Okay, that was just totally uh, not even conceivable. But the willingness to complete the evolution and development of my nervous system, just like a tree, allowed me to be able to absorb the greater aspects of why I was here.
Mm.
So one of the things that has really brought me great peace was to really be able to identify my soul quality characteristic as to how I can stay in a state of awareness that will allow me to navigate and master any collection of mass interacting with me at any time and stay at peace. Now he referred to that as your destiny cross. Okay, I look at that like the Knights Templar. Okay, that's my destiny cross. And knowing that I sit in the center of that and the qualities of the cosmos that I chose to embrace this lifetime under all circumstances, being the compassionate one. Okay, an individual who basically can be kind and yet and still very much aligned with the universe to see where there is a challenge or discrepancy in that individual, even including myself, in staying in alignment.
Mm.
Okay, so I have this quality known as polarization, or the capacity to actually go beyond a deeper level of what is being shown. Okay, so we get the first um, glamour, okay, of the light as it radiates from a person, what they say, what they have on. But then what's the next level, okay, of the wavelength that actually is being emanated also at the same time?
Mm. Mm.
And so having the capacity to go deeper and deeper, which is why I didn't even recognize why I got a graduate degree in microscopy as a, 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 a microbiologist, okay, which is what we do. We polarize. We go to the next level, the next level, the next level, where we can now see the human body at a quantum level, which is why we know that it is a light body.
Mm.
Okay, so in dealing with your question, if you're made out of light, and we are, okay, what does a mechanical machine, a mechanism that was created by some individuals who had really nothing to do but to see if they could create a cycle of momentum to keep metal moving perpetually in space, that we now call a chronometer? What does that have to do with the movement of photons throughout the cosmos and throughout all life forms, as far as their perpetual representation and alignment with all things? And it has nothing to do with it.
Mm.
So this is one of the main issues that we've stepped into, that for those of us who really want to be all that we can be and definitely evolve to a higher level of comfort and really excitation about life, must move away from a mechanical regulator. It cannot be.
Mm.
And so as I was just fascinated with Willem Votan and Lloyd Dean's explanation about uh, the light cycles and about timing, and then recalling the chronicity of disease. All disease is chronic because that individual does not have the knowledge and the capability of mastering their own mass relative to the environment as to how to return to their own cosmic cycle.
Mm.
You understand? So this
Yes.
is very important. So until they are able to recognize that the issue of time is to align oneself with how your light body perceives and is articulated with the movement of all light particles on the planet, on in our solar system, in our sector of the cosmos, in the galaxy. So we have these wheels upon wheels upon wheels of movement of the single photon that composes our own body. So when I've observed asking my clients to return to their perception of the daylight night light cycle,
Mm-hmm.
okay, with a diet that is reflective of a daylight night light cycle, their disease, their discomfort goes away. So I also recognize that the wear and tear on the body really doesn't exhibit itself as such when you are following the acknowledged daylight nightlight cycle of your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so therefore, then why would not the body be immortal? And so, if tissue can stay alive for almost 100 years in a test tube and be used to seed a geometric template to grow a face or to grow an ear or to grow a mouth or a liver, and then return to the test tube, okay, and stay there until they're put again in a geometric environment that gives them a direction on how they're to experience that world, because that's literally what happens when we grow organs, when we grow tissue, okay, then why collectively can't that tissue stay with the body that it was a part of its whole signature? And the reason why is it's the quality of the blood that is determined by your consciousness, which is going to determine if those tissues can continuously perpetuate themselves. So this hasn't been taught before about the quality of the blood predicated on your emotional body and your mental body. Because what does the brain do? The brain translates what is not three-dimensional into a physical reality, and we call those neuropeptides. So every thought that you create has a physical chemical manifestation that is released into your bloodstream so that every cell knows what you are thinking all of the time. So we use drugs to do what? To alter the quality of the blood temporarily. But the drugs cannot have the ultimate effect because no one has ever taught you how to think differently. No one has ever taught you how to perceive the sensations, the feedback from the body that you are collecting that forms the emotional body differently, because the brain is translating all of this into a protein.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So until you teach the person to think differently, which means that they define their sensations differently, they will not be able to have a permanent resolution of any manifestation in the body, not even to have the body indefinitely. So how do we have beings that are among us now that live 18,000 years, but they have a whole different perception of their body? They understand that it's a light body, and they understand that every thought that they think matters. It becomes physical.
Literally.
So they recognize that understanding universal law, cosmic law, is a requirement to maintain your citizenship as a cosmic being. So then how can you then not know your own constitution and know the major orientations that you've selected relative to cosmic law that are governing why your light body is staying intact? And that's how I perceive the Destiny Cross has created that capability for us. So the Destiny Cross actually literally is your shield, it's your alignment, and it's your capability to always know where on the grid. See, what is the cross? Check this out. What is two intersecting lines? Okay, it is your own personal position on the grid of the cosmos. You understand? So we all have our own cosmic grid that we stand on at all times. And how huge is the cosmos? Well, who would ever know that? But I know that I have my own place. And I know that when I have my own place on the grid, I can access, I can know, I can be a part of anything.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because I'm honoring and knowing what my grid sector is. And this is what's so great about the HMP, the whole of mind perceiver that, Vellum Votan and Red Queen Stephanie South have brought to us in this dimension. Because once we're able to calculate that and to calculate how that affects our nervous system, etc., we can be here forever. In physical body, mental body, emotional body, etc. And so this is the new technology that will be revealed to humanity very shortly, because we're already able to take people and reverse their aging 25, 30 years. We're able to take a person and grow them forward 30 years. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay,
Yes.
we can move your aging 30 years forward. So we can take somebody who's 20 years old and we can move them to literally being 50. We can keep them there and then we can reverse them so that when they finish that project, they actually can come back and function again as though they were 30 years old.
Mm.
Because with what appears to be maturity, not aging, there's certain software programs in the tissues that can only be actualized at that time. Do you understand? So it's like
Time
an
release
oak tree,
programs,
right? So it's
essentially.
like an oak tree that's 100 years old. Okay, that
Right.
performance and that capability is real different than an oak tree that's 5 years old.
Right.
Okay, even though the potential, obviously, to be 500 years old is in the 5-year-old oak tree, but can that be actualized at the orientation of how that tree's light body is functioning with the cosmos? And the answer is no. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a whole new perception of how we see ourselves as humans, and how we are now able to recognize that most of what we've been taught is incorrect relative to the destiny that we can actualize.
Fantastic.
So can I say one more thing?
Yes, please. Yes,
So
please.
therefore, when I was returned to the sector here of the cosmos with you, I was hearing Baba Wanique talk about Black Lives Matter.
Hmm.
This is so important, you know, and I have my color chart over here that I can show you in color, but this little chart right here is in a radiant color.
Mm-hmm.
And it very much makes it very clear that even the amount of light that we have built our body to be charged with at all times is relevant to the purpose that we play for what we are contributing to ourself, our species, and to this sector of the galaxy.
Mm.
So people in their ignorance and in an undeveloped nervous system are seeing this as racial. It has nothing to do with race. It has totally to do with the amount of information that has actually been totally braided literally into your light body for you to be able to operate precisely at all times why you came to this dimension. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, even though everything originates from the cosmos, which is why we know the cosmos to the eye appears not to have color, which we've labeled as black.
Mm. Okay.
Because all the light, all the information is present, and you only have so much attunement to be able to perceive that. And because the light is going away from the nervous system doesn't respond. That's what black is.
Mm.
See, and these things haven't been taught, but everything is in the cosmos. Okay. So blackness has everything in it, but the brain, how it's been aligned, can't see it. So we have children now that are actually being born where they now are able to see at night, just like cats, because their brain has actually morphed to be able to interact with infrared. So they can see like a cat at night, infrared. You understand what I'm saying? Where most people are like, well, we can't see anything out here. But these people now can see that because the brain has grown. This is our goal, is that the brain can morph to be able to see what the visual light aspect of the brain now is no longer the primary reference for our reality. We've outgrown the visual light spectrum. Do you understand? So that's why
Absolutely.
people are like, we're getting more cosmic rays, and oh my God, what are we going to do with the ultraviolet and the cell phone? All of these are constructs of our own body. We are the cosmos. Do you understand? And this body has been made from all of these wavelengths of light to a greater or lesser degree, depending on your destiny cross, depending upon what your purpose is and your need to have access to what? Light is information.
Information. That's right.
Right. And so therefore, based on why you're here and what it is you're to accomplish, why would you need all of the information from the cosmos when what you need literally does not require you to have to deal with the entire spectrum? All you need is to deal with what we call pheomelanation, or just a broad band, as we can see it on here, a broader band of light. Okay, if that's not what you need, then therefore you only need the very small visual light spectrum to operate and do what you need to do. So therefore, when your radiance permeates my brain, depending upon the wavelengths of light that you have composed your body, I'm going to see you from a visual light perspective, or I'm going to see you from an ultraviolet infrared perspective, which means that you're going to have a different hue, a different cast, interpreted by my brain as color. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you are literally a walking manifestation of the cosmos, okay, I will not see you as a color. You'll be everything, which then basically makes you jet, navy blue, black, plum purple. Do you understand? And so therefore they have a different amount of information, knowledge, a different purpose than an individual who is radiating what appears to be the infrared red spectrum, okay, etc. Do you understand? And so this whole concept of using the amount of light that our nervous system is actually able to integrate and radiate has been used to control humanity and to cause division. From a scientific, intellectual perspective, it was never ever explained about why the radiance of the light body that I carry represents and stimulates your brain to see me with this particular cast or color, because it's an indication of the information that I have access to relative to what is needed for my purpose here in this dimension. Do you understand? And
Absolutely.
This is where we now have to go. So I wrote this book, 20 something years ago, because I recognized that we were just getting really way, way out there with the illusion of something that all of us have to deal with. We are all made from light, and we all are capturing particular wavelengths of light for our purpose on the planet, our purpose in this sector of the galaxy. So not knowing your destiny cross, not knowing these things about yourself, you really set yourself up to stumble through what is literally a limited life, because all of us are born to be immortal. And all of us have the capacity to accommodate the environment that we expose ourselves to if we change our awareness in our brain to accommodate the information held in the mind. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. So if you don't know how to basically move to the area of the brain that will accommodate the information needed in the mind to change the function of the body, then you have problems. So this is why people are saying, well, I can't tolerate a lot of sun, and it makes my skin get leathery and I get melanoma. And that's because you're not in the proper area of the brain that will allow your body to accommodate. See, everybody has melanin. Melanin is your own personal little sun in the cell. Every cell in a human body has its own little sun, a melanocyte. You cannot create a light body without melanin. So there's no such thing as people not having enough melanin. The problem is they don't have the consciousness to allow the brain to make the neuropeptides that allows the body to use and activate the melanin as needed based on their exposure in the environment. Do you understand what I'm saying? So a person who we call melanin recessive can be just as dark as Baba Wanique, if they change the location of their awareness in their brain without biased.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So you can't say, oh, I'm just, peach colored skin, or I'm just brown. You're whatever you will allow your mind to perceive yourself to be.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And if you
Yes.
need to be able to absorb a tremendous amount of light, you're on the desert, you can't afford to have your skin burned and whatever else. All you have to do is change your perception of yourself, which means you have to go to a different area of the brain, and then the brain will again produce the proper translation, which will then create a different blood quality, which will then, if necessary, rev up the amount of melanin or decrease the production of melanin based on the command you gave it that is supported by the environment. Do you understand?
Mm.
So we have these health problems and issues because we don't know how to navigate the brain. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to navigate our mind that the brain translates. This is the big issue here. That's
Mm.
why if a person decides, even though they have immortal tissue, that they're only supposed to live to be 70 years old, then that is a command that the body has to honor.
Yeah.
Okay. If you understand that you want to be here 18,000 years, like our friends here, the Verdants, then you have to be able to travel the globe, which is what? Travel your brain, okay?
Yes. Yes.
Travel your mind, okay?
Okay.
So
Mm.
that the elixir necessary for the tissues to know how to behave, when to behave, now is a natural state of existence for them. So they'll always be
Wow.
able to adapt, always be able to change. And therefore, what appears to be wear and tear does not occur in these tissues because they're constantly repairing as they are also generating. Do you understand?
Yes.
So these are the things, and this is known, but it's only sustained in a small community of humans in what I call high science.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So again, it's time now for humanity, the general public, to basically know what is available to us, etc. And this doesn't even seem possible until you finish the completion of your brain and learn how to tell natural time. You
Mm.
cannot run an incredible body like we have created for ourselves on a little dinky machine that they call a chronometer. Okay,
Mm.
you kill it every time. And that's why the earth is full of these things, the residual of our bodies, because you did not have the owner's manual.
Killing time, wasting time, all sorts of
No pun
de-
intended, right?
debilitations, yeah, that we have, as you said, allowed the brain to produce
Right.
because of lack of awareness to that fact. Well, I tell you what, this is the most fascinating conversation I think I've ever had. And, with regard to time, obviously we do have a little bit of a constraint. My hope, and I'll put this into the ether for the future manifestation, is that we can actually continue this conversation and further explorations together in ways to present this to the human family. And I just really
Yay.
want to acknowledge both of you for all that you're
Yay.
doing and holding to evolve our human species. It is the most important work, and I just feel the energy on my body as I say this because I know it to be true. This is the most important work of our time. And so I really honor both of you for the space you've held for so long and that you continue to hold for all of us. And I'm beyond honored to have your presence with us now.
And I thank you for continuing to work on your platform, Amakua Ray. And Dr. Jewel, it's always an honor to be back in the circle to really reinitiate the things that we already have established. And I say I share to the ancestors and the elders for you, and of course you, Baba Amakua.
And likewise, and thank you
you.
very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Pookrum, Baba
Thank
Wanique, for this important exchange. And I want to encourage everybody paying attention and listening and tuning in today on the Day at a Time to discover your destiny cross, discover your galactic purpose signature, discover how you can enroll in Dr. Jules University and learn what it really does truly mean to be immortal. And the fact that you're already wired that way, now you just have to
Yes.
activate it and connect it. In
Yeah.
consciousness, be that you wish to see for sure. But thank you all so much. Big love, eternal love.
O Great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the wind, hear me. I'm small and weak. I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made, and my ears sharp to your voice. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. I seek strength, not to be greater than my brother, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me always ready to behold the red and purple sunset, so when my life fades as the fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. Ayum hunabku eva maya emaho. Ayum hunabku eva maya emaho. Ayum hunabku evam maya emaho.